Good afternoon, viewers. Our guest for today is a TEDx speaker, award winning writer, formal journalist, and an advertising professional. She has 5 books to her credit, 3 of which have already been headed for screen adaptation. Her works have been featured in leading platforms like Times of India, Asian Age, and Midday, and also Bombay Times and Hindustan Times. In 2023, Rolling Stone India featured her in her Women in Creativity initiative. She also serves as a jury for Asian chapter of the Ladli Media and Advertising Awards for Gender Sensitivity. Her body of work includes novels, anthologies, and also audiobooks. She is an avid reader, a traveler, and a Kathak dancer. Viewers, let us welcome on our show Richa S. Mukherjee. Richa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rashmi, and thank you for bringing the readers and listeners closer to the world of books and introducing them to writers. So you're doing a great thing. Thank you so much for having me.
So we will start with आप एक award-winning journalist है, and you're an author, and your books have been headed for the screen adaptation. So we'll start with a very basic question: what inspired you to start writing?
I think, Rashmi, I would love to have a very non-cliched answer. I always knew that I would want to write and that I had this clarity. But I would honestly have to admit that I'm an accidental writer. Lekin the something that was fueling my writing from the beginning was the fact that I was a voracious reader. Before I even knew ki likhna hai, at which juncture in my life I'll be able to write, I just knew that I could not survive a single day without books. Initial introduction happened through my sister, my father. वो अपने उपनिषद पढ़ते थे, वेदों की stories लाते थे. My sister used to read Mills and Boons and Georgette Eyre and Victorian romances पढ़ती थी. And all I knew was that this mystical, amazing, fantastical world is something I want to be part of. तो बचपन से ही I've been a voracious reader. इतना साहस नहीं था that I felt that I would ever be able to write. But honestly speaking, I never had the ambition of becoming a writer. I just knew that I wanted to always read, and I read through life. I always used to write unfortunate sounding poetry. So, my expression happened through, poetry, very simple sounding poetry, which was a release for me and cathartic for me. So I used to write that through life. But Essa, I never really thought I'd ever become a novelist. I finished my commerce. I did my journalism. I was in advertising. And frankly, my father was a little concerned at some point because he just said, "You're going willy-nilly. What are these, all these career choices?" But what I knew throughout is that I think the writer and me was accumulating the experiences, Rashmi, along the way. And I think the point of inspiration struck when, at a point in my life when I really didn't have time. I was in my maternity break, and there was this circus unfolding around me, and I really didn't have the time. But there was a sort of a story, this is probably, something that you've heard before, that this is this, time in many creative, journeys where during pregnancies and, work breaks is when people decide to write, is because, you pause long enough to let, assimilate what thoughts you're having, or even try or have the courage to actually pick up a pen. And that tends to happen when you take a little bit of a pause and a little bit of a breather. So I wrote a book. I finished an entire book, in the haphazard way that I only knew at that point in time. And again, I didn't have the courage to come out with it, but my husband pushed me. I participated in this Times of India contest, and I went ahead and submitted this book to, Ravinder Singh, who had this publishing outfit at the time. I had no idea that I would ever be published by HarperCollins, but that's the whole point. When you're able to, push the limits, when you're able to take your inspiration and, translate that into a little bit of courage and a little bit of action, it goes a long way. So the inspiration happened to me at a point in time when I wasn't seeking it. It was just a release for me. But I enjoyed it so much, and it was so unencumbered. It was such a release for me and so wonderful to write, because I wrote it as a humorous book about accidental pregnancy, that I realized that I really needed to make something cohesive of this inspiration and turn it into something I could do for a long time.
Wow. So, definitely reading and writing go hand in hand, and I am also an avid reader, so I can relate to it. But आपको कभी ऐसे लगा कि writing is more than a profession for you? I mean, when did that actual calling come? Definitely it was during your pregnancy, but as a profession, when did you start?
Um, Rashmi, they say na that it takes a village, and sometimes it
To raise
doesn't
a
even
child,
take
yes.
a village to make a decision. Sometimes it takes a one person in your corner, and which is why anybody who embarks on this journey, I would really, really want them to have this one person in their corner and share their dream and their ambition of writing with someone, because it can be a very lonely pursuit. I was in the middle of a job. I was taking a break. I was supposed to go back to work, and I had this book. The one person who recognized how much I enjoyed myself and the fact that there could be something of, that something that could come off it in the future was my husband. And at that point in time, we were all like, in comfortable careers, we were making, good money, and we had these dreams, and house was bought and all of that. So this was a difficult decision for him as well, to just say, listen, write, pursue it, dekha jayega, you're being published by HarperCollins, see where it goes. Because वो कहते हैं ना, दो नाव में पैर रख के you can go to a certain distance, but you'll never ever realize the potential, the true potential of what you can do with it. So I think at that point in time, I would like to say something very romantic about it, but I will say it was a very practical decision, because at that point in time, he sat me down and said, look, jo bhi hai, we'll see it together. I know there's a kid, I know all of this, but give it a go. And that give it a go is what turned that inspiration and pushed it a little further and gave it a very practical mindset, saying that okay, जैसे competitive exams के लिए बैठते हैं, and you tell your parents, give me 1 year, give me 2 year. So in my head, it's not like I was asking for permission, but I said, okay, fine. Because he gave me that structure, and I said, okay, fine, I'll give myself 2 years. Let's see where this goes. And the good part about it is, Rashmi, that I never thought of it as a profession. So already I was enjoying the process, and I was already loving it. Because as soon as you put this framework of a profession on anything, जो मजे की भी चीज होती है, things that you enjoy, it suddenly takes on this negative hue of coercion कि करना है and all of that. So because that, that financial pressure was not on my head, which, he had partly taken off my head, that is when I kind of decided that, okay, fine, let me translate this passion into a career and let me give it a go. And which is why, I've been on these forums where women with, they have sat and looked at me and saying, are you trying to attribute all your success and crediting your husband with it? I said, I mean, why not? At the, there is sometimes, when you will never ever take that leap until unless that one person in your corner is pushing you, over the cliff. And it happened to be him at that point in time. And I have no qualms in admitting that he found the courage for me at that point in time when I didn't. And that's why this has become a profession. And then later on, of course, my whole, when I articulated it, I come from a family of writers. So then everybody kind of, supported me. But that initial translating into a profession and taking that first step, I would definitely give him credit.
कहते हैं ना कि I mean, you have the talent, but एक छोटी सी push चाहिए होती है and nudge you forward to follow your passion. And that's so sweet of your husband. I mean, husband का अगर support हो, you don't need anybody else in life.
Absolutely,
So आपने तो आपने 5 किताबें लिखी है. So all are fiction and or non-fiction.
Fiction.
Fiction. So what keeps bringing you, like you enjoy the fiction genre more? तो कभी आपने नॉन फिक्शन सोचा? एंड पहली जो किताब आपने लिखी, यू सेड यू wrote about your pregnancy times and all, so just tell us something about that.
So Rashmi, you yourself know the reason you're sitting here and doing this is a passion project for you is because
Definitely.
I think within the world of fiction, it contains multitudes and multiverses within that world, right? I mean, there is absolutely no limit. So that has infinitely been fascinating to me. And the fact that I can play a magician, create my own world, create characters, imbue meaning into the stories that I am telling, make somebody think a certain way, make somebody happy, make it relatable for someone. That I think is a sort of an aphrodisiac and, and a privilege, both combined. So I think fiction will always be my first love. Having said that, I mean, non-fiction is definitely not something, again, this is one of those places where, women are self-flagellation experts, Rashmi. We all are. We're engineered to self-destruct and always, take a step back and push ourselves down before anybody else can. And in addition to that, I'm a writer. So it's a double whammy. So already I've told myself in my head that no matter what I've written, non-fiction nahi, but this is the way the world unfolds. This is the way opportunities unfold, that at the moment I'm actually considering a non-fiction project. But having said that, to your question, fiction has always been my first love and always will be. And I didn't honestly, that was my first book, Rashmi. It's a story about accidental pregnancy, and it's about how women are supposed to grow horns once they have, if even if they're in the workforce, even if out of the workforce, it's almost as if you're diminished. It's not like it's an interesting or a good phase of your life. After people fall out of the workforce, you're not considered capable anymore. You feel like people are doubting your potential. So I wanted to take this whole point of view in a humorous way, and it was very easy for me to access that world because I was on a work break and everybody was looking at me as if you're not coming back to work. I'm sure you're not. People had already assumed that. So it was easy for me to access those feelings and that environment. And that is what I channelized. It was at that point I wasn't thinking fiction, non-fiction, whatever. I just knew that this is my environment and this is my fodder around me, and this is something I just wanted to channelize into a story. And I did a very long story, which gave my editor a heart attack later because it was double the word count of what commercial fiction needs to be. But then that was a learning as well. But that's how it started.
तो आपकी 5 किताबें हैं, उसमें से 3 have gone for screen adaptation. So which of them have gone and कैसा लगा? Like कैसे, how did somebody approached you? How did that happen?
It was a very humbling experience, Rashmi, because हमने तो उस डायरेक्शन में सोचा ही नहीं था. I am not Anand Neelkantan जिनकी he writes every book knowing that he's going to write the screenplay and आगे जाके it's going to go. I just wrote a story. The first one that went to screen or was bought for screen was Kanpur Khufia Private Limited. It's a story about, it's a whole franchise. There are 2 books there, Kanpur Khufia Private Limited and The Curse of Kuldhara. And it's this world I've created of this typically very desi detective from Kanpur. And I was born in Kanpur. And I have a lot of fond memories of Kanpur. And while I doff my hat to every detective fiction I've ever read, which is normally about, London and cobbled streets and, cigar smoking detectives, I was always fascinated by, Byomkesh Bakshi and Feluda and Karamchand. So I was like, why not, And just one summer afternoon when I was in Kanpur, this idea came to me. And in an hour, I had this idea down that, I'm going to create this world of this very interesting character called Prachand Tripathi, who lives in Gwaltoli, and he's got these massive dreams of coming up, of setting up this agency called Kanpur Khufia Private Limited. And that, so I basically married my familiarity and love for Kanpur with this whole desi detective franchise, and this created this whole world with a typical Indian family, typical Indian problems, and then a case comes to him. And so it was very charming for me to write and interesting for me to write. And I think that authenticity was felt by my publishers as well. So they were the ones who actually brought this to me, saying that we want to pitch it for screen. And I was just flabbergasted. I was like, okay. I mean, it was very humbling. So then I realized that it's not just their work, it's my work as well. So then they told me what all I need to put in place. So I had to rewrite the story in a particular way, to pitch it to directors and think of a star cast. So I was just trying to just keep my feet on the ground, saying here I'm sitting and they're asking me who do you want to be in this movie and all of that. And then you have to kind of talk about the longevity, because nowadays whether it's web series or it's films, they talk about how they can stretch bang for their buck and stretch the franchise. So it could have been a web series or a film. So then I was asked to reimagine all of that, and it was pitched and it went to Endemol, and they had it for about 2 years, but it wasn't getting developed. So then there was this one YRF, Yashraj Films producer, who was chasing me for a very long time while there was an option with Endemol. An option essentially means that there is a certain value of the of the entire franchise, of the deal, and they give you about 20% of it initially, and they keep an option of making it. That's what an option means. So they had that option, and then Jio Studios came in and bought out the entire thing. So they did a full buyout, which is a reflection of their confidence in the franchise. And they bought Kanpur Khufia, they bought Curse of Kuldhara as well, which is part 2 in the installment. and I cannot wait to see it on screen because people keep asking me, and I just say that it's not given that once you hand over your book, that entire ecosystem, Rashmi, is completely different. There's a whole bunch of, there is enough author friends of mine who write their screenplays as well. In fact, I'm also teaching myself how to write screenplays. But once you hand it over, it's the vision of the creative director, their team, screenplay directors who, and it's like you're almost kept at a distance from it because they know that ये author आके ना sets पे यही करने वाले हैं, तो इनको दूर रखो. So I know that the screenplay has been written, but I'm, yeah, fingers crossed. I'm waiting for it to see it on air. Excess Baggage also went for a film to Abundancia. That's also on hold right now, but that's also gone for a film. So yeah, I mean, whenever I'm sitting and writing down a story, I just look at my work in front of me, and I just think that I want to create this universe. And then if that is its fortune, then it's going to land up and extend itself to another to another world and maybe see itself on screen. But my job is in front of me. After that, whatever happens to it is just a bonus, and it's humbling, and it's exciting for sure.
So we'll also wait to see your stories on screen. So tell me something. आप जैसे किताबें लिखती हैं, ठीक है? That's fiction, and fiction is not easy. You have to create the characters. So when you create your characters, I mean, does it relate to something you've seen in the past? मतलब, or is it आपने किसी से मिले हो उस तरह का character? And how close? Which of the characters have been very close to your heart? जितनी किताबें लिखी हैं उसमें?
So I think everything that we write doesn't, ये question बहुत बार पूछा जाता है रश्मि की, is this you? So of course we as individuals are a sum total of our experiences, the impressions of the everyday that is left on us through the people we meet, the conversations we have, the experiences we have. So to say that I am just writing dystopian, maybe only if you're writing futuristic speculative fiction or dystopian fiction is when you actually move away from reality. The rest of it is a sum total of our experiences. We're like sponges and absorbing everything. So 100%, people I've met, interesting character quirks and mannerisms and dialogues and ideas, it is all a function of the environment, and you're constantly, which is why everybody is constantly taking notes. I am very old school, so I like jotting down in my diary. I've got all sizes, like itni choti, itni badi, and my daughter and I are always fighting over these diaries which are full of my ideas. But now I think I've started putting it on a phone as well because that's also practical and convenient. So the ideas keep coming, but sorry, what was I talking about? You were asking me about
your characters. How close are they to your heart?
Yes, sorry. Yeah. So all of these go down in a reservoir of thoughts, and then I pick and choose depending on the ecosystem of the story. So I keep jotting it down. And for example, excess baggage, so when I know that this is the framework of my story, these are the sort of characters that I'm looking for, then I go dipping in here and there. In fact, I've gotten into a lot of trouble because initially when I started writing, for my first book especially, I remember my mom-in-law came to me and said, is this supposed to be me? Because there's two mother-in-laws. I said, no, absolutely not. You're the other one. So I quickly went and changed the entire thing and then I was so stupid that there was this really morose friend of mine who I portrayed in that book. And like an idiot, I didn't even change his name. So he called me up and he said, is this me? I said, absolutely not. Of course it's not you. So, I mean, I've at least become wiser that way. So to answer your question, yes, everything that's happening in our environment, percolates down into our stories. But that doesn't literally translate into, for example, excess baggage. If you're asking about one of my favorite characters, it's Smita Punjabi, who's the 67, 68-year-old, woman who's very independent, very quirky, has, very strong-willed, and she's led life on her own terms. And because of the way she is and her nature and her personality, there's always friction points with her daughter. But she's very unapologetic about it, but she's also very, vulnerable and funny. So I think I love the messiness and the complexity and the dynamics of the character I was able to, put into that. Because I hate this stereotypification of, mothers, these bichari, always sacrificing. And, my mother either, messed up my life or she was the most amazing person. And there's nothing else in this chasm here. There are most of us who fit in the middle. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's, horrible. So I really wanted to project this flawed, tutti putti mother who's perfect for herself. And, it takes all sorts to make the world and all sorts of relationships. So that was an ode to, mothers and daughters in my head. And I constantly kept thinking of mine who was very quiet and, not at all like Smita Punjabi. But I think there's something universal about mothers and daughters. So I think she's one of my favorite characters.
Okay. So, Richa, you've been into advertising and you've been into this thing, journalism, and आप novels भी लिखती हैं. So, journalism में एक अलग तरह की writing होती है. In advertisements, I think you have to write those jingles. That's what I understand. And then novel writing. So, how has these three been different, and which of it have you enjoyed the most?
I think each profession within that ecosystem comes with a certain set of expectations, deliverables, skills, and training. So I think when it came to journalism, it was a training of a different sort, where it was you basically have to be factual, but you also have to present a point of view within those facts, within the purview of those facts. And it's all about brevity. There are rules and regulations to that sort of writing. In advertising, I think it is to a brief. I wasn't on the creative side. I was in account management. So it helped me don that hat as well. Where it's not just about the creativity, it's about translating creativity, human psychology into a cohesive piece of, a creative which impacts people. So, if you look at both these professions in their own way, I can't pick. There were many breakdowns I had during advertising because the hours were horrible, but it had a high of a different sort. Journalism, when I was on the crime beat, I felt like I remember my dad came to my office and he was like, We didn't raise you to become a criminal, run after criminals like this. So just stop. So I think, we have this expectation that everything is going to be perfect once we are in that job. It doesn't really work like that, neither does life. So I think there were highs and lows in both professions, but I think they were a big training ground for me as a person and as I wasn't thinking of myself as a writer at that point in time, but it was very interesting because I think it made me a good listener, a good observer, the ability to read a room. I did so many consumer groups, so they able to, understand human psychology, what people say versus what they actually mean. So all these are great things to pick up, because that's essentially what you're doing. In the end, when you're writing a book, you're sitting and doing ping pong between your thoughts and assuming what another person would be saying. So, it's about being many people at the same time. So I think all of these were sort of shaping me into the writer that I am. Compared to all of them, I can easily say I feel that I cannot live without writing books. I could have done without advertising. Right now, if you ask me, of course, I once you've got a taste of this world, I don't think you can ever let go of it truly, no matter how little it pays. But so yeah, there is a definite preference, but I do feel that everything I've done, I've genuinely enjoyed. Otherwise, I would not have ended up learning so much. So because I made my own mistakes and I picked my own professions, I think that's why I had nobody to blame and I enjoyed it. So it was the failures were mine, the successes were mine. And because my parents, that's why that support, sometimes instead of just like, I just talk to so many parents that way, that it's great to have a mission because sometimes you're focused. But if you're willing to deviate a little bit, take a few experiments, chances along the way, you just never know where you land up. And and you'll never be blamed in the end because you're allowing a person to flex and make their own mistakes and make their own choices. So it's important.
So, Richa, आपका your work has been featured in leading publications. तो आपको कैसा लगता है जब आपकी when readers read your thoughts and obviously they might share their thoughts also. तो कैसा, how do you feel?
सबसे पहले तो imposter syndrome. you know, that's top of the list, because you see something good, and even in fact, just yesterday there was such a lovely DM from this mum, and she wrote to me and she said that, I'm guilty of not having finished your book, but before I could get to it, my 12-year-old daughter finished reading it, and she'd done a rating of the books, and she'd written a lovely comment and wrote, 5 on 5 for, Vigilantes, my last book. And that was so sweet of her to share. And my first reaction was, my daughter was sitting next to me. She's also 12 and she's a voracious reader, and she's one of my most favorite readers of all my books also. So she said, Mama, look at that. And I was like, yeah, I know, but already I was doubting it. So that tends to happen. But over a period of time, you begin to accept the fact that, if, because you have been true to your way of storytelling and, telling the kind of stories you want to, it has been connecting with people. And on good days, I allow myself to feel very humbled, and and feel very, sense of gratification, that, magazines and newspapers have written about these stories about me. Because, Rashmi, at some point, you can't divorce yourself as a person, from your storytelling. There's a huge debate about it, right? That, storyteller versus, the person who creates it versus the stories you create. But I think at some point it's sort of inseparable. And if you keep on thinking of yourself as, I come from a marketing and advertising background, so I know that no matter how romantic I want to, much I want to romanticize this, I am a brand. There's a certain, vibe and there's a certain personality that I have, because of people connect to not just my writing, people connect to me as well. But I have, tried not to straitjacket myself anymore. When I speak at events, whether I'm speaking to newspapers, magazines, readers, reading that feedback, I just try to imagine that my books are an extension of my voice. So even the way I speak, slightly irreverent, funny, whatever, that is something that will percolate into my writing. And that is something that I think people will also kind of connect with and identify it. So as long as I'm not trying to just hold myself and keep a certain persona and just letting myself be myself, I think it's just very humbling and nice, to connect with people and just get these emails, and even with the media, it's, as long as you're allowing yourself to be yourself, I think people connect.
Great. So, Richa, your format of writing has been anthologies, also e-singles, then novels, then also audiobooks. तो आपको as a writer कौन सा format सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद है?
See, at the end of the day, the basis for all of them is you're telling stories through different formats. That is how, storytelling has evolved. Formats badal gaye hain, but the base of it is story. But if you're asking me about the process, I think I'm very old school like that. I love putting pen to paper. Laptop to ab use karna padta hai for sure, but it for me, it has to be novel writing. I'm teaching myself screenplay. I write poetry as well. There's a lot of it. But I think when it comes down to this creating stories, putting pen to paper, there's this something called this generation effect, Rashmi, where psychologists have proven this phenomenon where when you actually, not just the physical act of writing, but when you are creating things on your own, the kind of impact it has on your psychology and your creative prowess and the entire process is very, very different from when you're listening to it or anything. So there's something to do with focusing your energy, putting it down yourself, creating something on your own, which is very thrilling and very interesting. And I think for me, that is a sort of incubation period for me, which I think is very, very, and that is what keeps me sane. Because beyond that, Rashmi, once the story is done, uske baad the publishing, kaun kharidega, marketing karo, idhar baat karo, udhar baat karo. So everything after that tends to overwhelm you. But so what I try and focus on is when I'm writing, and that's my first love. And I think I will always, always enjoy this whole excitement of, creating this universe, filling it with these characters, and trying to make sense of the story. That's my favorite thing to do.
Right. So, Richa, when you read, like as an author or as a reader, when you read other people's story, number one, what makes the story stay with you long after you've read it? And secondly, how do you perceive it as a third person, as an author reading other people's stories?
So you've heard of Jerry Pinto, Rashmi. He's a lovely, lovely person and a wonderful writer. He's written a lot
Right.
of like Ed in the Big Home and Education of Yuri. So he calls writers who are readers frauds because he said once you become a writer, you are always going to try and understand more about the technique. You're going to try to second guess the purity of being a reader goes. But frankly speaking, I don't think I'm any different. Of course, I try and second guess, and I'm just like, awestruck sometimes that my God, how beautifully is this written and what must they be thinking? But largely, I think the wonder that I felt as a reader, that doesn't go anywhere. And I just use all that reading to, in fact, inspire myself. Inspiration does not mean emulation. It just means that it's just how like muscle work in the gym. The more you flex your muscle, the more you flex your reading muscle, your thinking muscle, you might just end up generating some very, very interesting, unique ideas. So that's how I keep it interesting, for myself by reading more and more. But of course, especially because I also write humorous thrillers, the writer inside me is always trying to jump up and down and trying to guess who did this, who did that. But I try to keep the joy of reading alive for myself by also switching to, a lot of times I switch to poetry. Because I write fiction, I tend to switch genres to just get myself, make it a more cohesive, make it a more holistic experience for me. So I read a lot of children's literature, and I don't know why more adults don't read children's literature. It is just it's like you're depriving yourself of such beautiful storytelling in the most unencumbered, innocent, impactful, insightful way when you just read. Because it's almost as if life is simplified for you, but it is even more impactful because they end up seeing the deepest of things in a more such a wonderful manner to children. And the stories are absolutely, I mean, absolutely at par with anything to do with adult fiction, like adult fiction. So I think mixing up genres also is something that should be done by people instead of just sticking to one genre.
Right. So coming to my next question, see, Richa, many people, have this misconception that, acha, she's a full-time writer. I also like had to face these. So what is your take on that?
As in, how am I making a living by being a full-time writer?
Yeah, maybe that. Or what is your opinion about people thinking that, acha, full-time writer is a profession?
Exactly. So see, I've realized that I can't change the way the world thinks because there are certain assumptions that are made with every profession. Whether you're talking about the tech bros or the finance bros, or women who leave on time. Everybody has a point of view and opinions, and there are stereotypes galore everywhere. When it comes to writers, especially when it comes to women writing, I know your husband is sitting and financing everything. This is, it's an
Mm.
act. It's considered an act of indulgence. So I try and not think too much about it because at the end of the day, I know what this act of indulgence elicits from me in terms of an effort and the madness and the trauma on a daily basis. And as long as it's fueling my creative energy, I'm fine because I cannot change the way the world thinks. So I remember this ex colleague of mine, he called up and he was just like, "Hi, writing to theek hai, but I mean, what are you eventually going to do?" So I was like, it's all good because he was just like, you're waiting. They were all waiting for me to get back into advertising or whatever. And I just said, what if this is not a stepping stone and this is the stone I want to stand on eventually? So trying to prove things to the world never really works. So I try and create, you know, not think about those stereotypes on a daily basis and just try to channelize my energy into my work and creating the stories I want to write. Because I think that is the only way I will justify to myself that or at least convince myself at the end of my life that I have done justice to this privilege, because it is an absolute privilege to be able to to be able to do what I do, and I will never take it lightly. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because being an author myself, sharing your voice with readers and putting your emotions on paper, it is not easy at all. I
And
relate
Rashmi,
to
you
that.
put it perfectly, because vulnerability, that's something else I realized.
Right.
Vulnerability is not a disability. Being vulnerable and is a power. Because allowing yourself to be able to express your thoughts and being an empath enough to be able to understand the vulnerability of others, that's how you'll be able to write. And that's not a liability. I think it's a power.
Right. So you are an avid traveler and you've traveled a lot. So how does this traveling shape your writing by, ab jate ho, bahar jate ho, you observe people, you see places. How has that evolved or shaped your writing?
I don't think it has literally translated into any sort of my writing. I remember I was speaking with this wonderful lady. If you, she's called the Agatha Christie of India, Manjari Prabhu, and she writes a lot of
Hmm.
destination thrillers. And somebody asked me, and I'd gone to attend one of her festivals in Pune Lit Fest, and somebody asked me saying, you have this travel handle called Traveling Lobsters, which my husband and I run just to record our traveling experiences and everything. They were like, why don't you write any destination thrillers? I've thought about it, Rashmi, but I just feel that when I'm traveling, it might not be immediately contributing to my words and my stories, but what it does to me on a personal level is something I don't think I'll ever be able to articulate. It's not just the joy of seeing new people or seeing new places, or the privilege, of understanding and experiencing somebody else's history, all of those things. It's all those in between moments, those random conversations, those quiet moments. I don't think I can ever thank the universe enough for landing me up with a partner who's as crazy about travel as I am. And I think I have discovered so much of myself, forget about as a writer, as a person. And I think that feeds into what I am as a writer. But definitely, the at some point, I just know that my husband and I have this understanding that we might end up very poor at the end of our lives, but we'll have covered at least 90% of the countries there are to cover and a lot of places within India as well. And I think that will be a life well lived as far as our definition is concerned. And I think as long as I keep traveling, like I said, whether it doesn't literally relate and translate into my stories, I know I will never feel the lack of inspiration as a writer, because I will just enjoy this privilege forever and ever. I mean,
Great. So you're a trained Kathak dancer and an awesome storyteller. So does Kathak in any way influence the way you do your storytelling, the rhythmic movements and everything?
it's definitely inspiring. Kathak came to me at a very late juncture in my life, Rashmi. My mom's a Kathak and Sangeet Visharad. Yeah, I've come from a very musical and family, and I'm the only black sheep who doesn't play any instrument. But my daughter plays the tabla even and everything. So I really wanted to learn Kathak, and we all trained in classical music and everything. But I wanted to really learn Kathak, and that was one way of, to connect to my mom. But I only thought about it when my daughter was much older. So I ended up being the oldest kid, oldest person in the classroom. So I only started learning about 6 years ago. So it came to me a little late, but absolutely, the meaning of Kathak itself is, there's this thing when we start doing the paribhasha of Kathak, the first thing we read is, Katha kahe so Kathak kahave. The person, जो कथाकार जब कथा बताता है, उसको बोलते हैं कथक. So I think every single thing that I have learned about within this art form is about storytelling. You're telling stories through your facial expressions. You're telling stories about events that have happened in mythology and history, through your arm movements, through it's basically a language of communication where sometimes even words are not important. And even that is a sort of learning that as human beings we're able to communicate so much even without words. So I think the understanding, and the more I advance in this journey, the more I'm learning about the theory of it and the origin of it. And that definitely some level percolates down and teaches you a sense of rhythm and discipline about life as well. And I'm sure that shaped me as a person. And like I said, anything that shapes me as a person and excites me as an individual eventually shapes my stories as well. So, and I have promised my Kathak teacher that I will write one children's book about Kathak. So, eventually I will write that.
Wow. So, Richa, Rolling Stone India recognized you as one of the women in creative field. So, how does that being a part of that conversation mean to you?
Oh, again, very humbling. But that entire afternoon, I'm telling you, Rashmi, more than feeling great about myself, I was just looking around the room and it was filled with these women from different walks of life. And I was just gobsmacked looking around and I was starry eyed. And it was just very, very wonderful to be in that room to, feel that sense of power, not that is not just because it's radiating from you, but it's all around you. And that just speaks volume about what happens when you celebrate women. It's just like it's a power, it's a dynamic, it's a sort of radiance that I can't explain. So I think that entire afternoon, more than celebrating myself, I was celebrating the women around me. And it was such a wonderful acknowledgement and a nod to you know सालों की मेहनत that so many of them had put in, to their various fields of work, and finally that one moment to shine and be in the limelight, because we know once we go back home it's all back to square one. So that afternoon was an absolute highlight in my head. Yes, I definitely did celebrate myself, but it was a very big nod to powerful women everywhere, and that's what stayed with me.
Okay, so Richa, you also serve as a jury on the Ladli Foundation. So, what changes आपको ऐसा लगता है that should be incurred or brought about when women are represented in the media?
I don't think we'll ever be able to control how women are represented in media, because media represents what society thinks. And a lot of times it is channelized through people with their own prisms and their own biases and their own point of view. So it's never a pure reflection of either what people feel or the way things should be. So I think we're never going to be able to craft that narrative ever. The What makes me very hopeful is the fact that even within writing and within journalism, this is a certain space where women's voices were not really heard. We all know that even the simple act of writing and publishing yourself was an absolutely unattainable dream. It wasn't just about voting and getting jobs and everything. Even writing was like a faraway dream. In fact, so many women fueled the pens of their husbands, but then could not, write. So I still feel hopeful, because over a period of time, I've seen a sea change in the acceptance of women's stories and women's voices. And the beautiful thing about this is, Rashmi, that I've rarely come across an impactful book by a woman where they have gone about making very vociferous claims about misogyny and this and that and the other, and crying. Women have a lovely, subtle, delicious way of embedding social commentary in their books, which I do as well, and getting the point across. And there is a bigger and bigger audience for this now, and that is what gives me a lot of heart. In fact, if I can give you an example, within the world of thrillers, there's uh, this whole charge that has been led by women in terms of thrillers and selling so well, as one of the largest selling categories in the world, was led by a group of women who were writing a new grade of thrillers. It was called Griplit, by Paula Hawkins, AJ Flynn, all of these. They were the ones who started it, which is like, these complex, dark, but there's no blood gore in them, but psychological dark thrillers. So this was started by women, and there's enough women writing it here as well. And across genres, there is nothing, whether it's mythology, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's a lot of genres which I think were primarily dominated by men, where even publishers wouldn't look your way. I think now it is coming to a point where, to a certain extent, there's a very big democratization in the field, and you feel like, I can say now that I'm standing on the shoulders of millions of women who couldn't write, but I can now write stories that I care about, you know? that, because it's come to a sort of a beginning of a level playing field now, even though there are many things that cannot be fixed, like I told you, stereotypes, narratives, all of that. But then instead of, being so dismissive about change, we can try and make our small changes in our own way, in our sphere of influence. And I feel hopeful about that. Things will change.
Great. So, after 5 books and so many adaptations and so many literary creative fields, uh, what is left, according to you, in your bucket list? Work.
I think I'm too hungry and curious as a person to ever say that I'll ever be able to fill that bucket. And God must be like, you're such a, like a greedy pig that itna bhar diya and you're still like, but I just generally feel that, I know you laugh at this, but I was listening to this, that Garun Puran that normally, that is about life after death and everything. And the first thing that Panditji said that, if you behave like this, you're going to be a cheatie in your next birth. If you do this, then you're going to be a lizard in your next birth. I just sat, I was like, shit, if I'm going to be a lizard and a billy and all of this in my next birth, I might as well enjoy this. So I just think of life as, every single, I'm like that crazy mother who, who's does all the odd things and, is always out trying to, like, or is out and in and is a complex, crazy personality. But I just feel that this is one life, and I think I'll keep wanting more from it, not in terms of, wealth or excesses, but I think in terms of experiences. And I think I'll chase them till I have teeth and till I have legs to walk on. So that's going to be in the bucket list.
Okay, so when readers read your book and they finally close the book, what is one feeling or thought that you feel that it should stay with the readers?
Um, I would like to say something disruptive that, make them feel uncomfortable so they come back to my next book. But I think, at the base of it, even when I'm writing thrillers, I think I write meaty, hearty stories about, from all corners of India. And I'd like to make them feel as if, they've just been home. So it's, that feeling of familiarity, and it might not always be la-di-da kind of happiness, but it's like a safe, familiar, happy feeling. And God knows there's enough negativity out in the world, so which is why I try and infuse my books with a little bit of humor, because I think we all need a sense of humor about life nowadays. So I hope they feel that way.
Definitely. And one piece of advice you would like to give the budding writers of today who want to publish their books?
I think I would go back to what I had said earlier about having somebody in your corner, Rashmi, because I think everybody thinks of this as a fantastical ambition. So basically, you're killing your own ambition with before even embarking on it, because you think that it's so improbable, because everybody's going to fight you. They're going to say, where's the money coming from? So I always think it's a good, if you really want to write, I think you should have this conversation with your family, because it shouldn't become a deterrent or a barrier. You shouldn't be writing in spite of your family. You should be writing, with a sort of a plan. So a lot of people are able to have this career because they have day jobs as well. And they're very happy to have the day jobs and know that who doesn't want to make money, right? You need that. You have responsibilities, you have payments to make. So if you have a little bit of a plan about it, if you have a conversation about it, then you don't have to go on other days where, creative people used to die in penury and poverty. Nobody wants to do that. If you want to take this seriously as a, as a profession, and make people take you seriously, because I'm already, like, writers around the world are sick of, you know, people telling them that, oh, you love writing, now then why do you want to need to make money at it? Because that doesn't make sense anymore. You can monetize your passion as well. So it's always good to have a conversation, to have somebody on your side, and not make them think that you're just indulging yourself, because that foundation will help you, chisel out a path, as opposed to feeling so lost and lonely at the end of it that you forget about it, and then it actually becomes a hobby. So I think it's important.
So can we have a closing line from you for Zena family?
Um, Read, because the world outside is scary and dull. So I think, it's, I find that within the pages of a book, life is in it infinitely more interesting. But yeah, once in a while, take the book, sit outside in the park and read, and get off your phones.
So it was lovely having you on the show, Richa, and we got to learn so many things from you. And wishing you all the best for your next project. And hope we have a chat show soon again with a new book of yours. Till then, take care.
Absolutely. I look forward to that, and I look forward to looking at your real library as well.
Sure.
Super.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.